An opposition activist in Kuwait has been thrown behind bars for defaming the country's ruler on Twitter. Now, to help explain why the authorities have gone that far, then let's talk to author and journalist Afshin Rattansi, is joining us on the line. Hi, Afshin, morning to you. The court acknowledged that these tweets didn't actually mention the Emir explicitly, but they said they were, quote, clearly meant to insult him. How is a 2-year sentence proportionate to that, then, do you think?
Of course, anything in fewer than 144 characters or whatever it is so dangerous to Kuwait. No, this is a very serious issue, and I know you've been covering it, Kevin, but that's 2 tweeters in 2 days, 2-year sentences, and, well, it was only the other day that the U.S. the U.S. Secretary of State for Defense was in Kuwait lauding his 13,500 troops in Kuwait. What are they there for? Some type of invasion against Iran? Not much news about this, I can tell you, here in Britain, for instance, where everyone tries and sucks up to the Sabah family, regardless of whether they imprison 2 people, Ayad al-Harbi and Rashid Salah Anzi for tweeting anything against these rulers.
As you say, Afshin, it's not the first time in Kuwait an activist being targeted them for tweets against the rulers. Do you think it's high time now that human rights groups weighed in?
Well, human rights groups themselves are, in a sense, a different subject because some of them are being nobbled by U.S. authorities. But in fairness, there have been some human rights groups that have campaigned for the horrible human rights situation suffered by the elements, the Bidun people, 100,000 of those stateless in Kuwait, and anyone really trying to look for greater freedoms in Kuwait. It's a forgotten country in terms of the Arab Spring. In fact, Kuwait is hosting at the end of this month a whole conference about Syria and about humanitarian help for Syria. So it has a lot to say about humanitarian things in Syria, but it imprisons people that tweet anything against them, even though it is one of the most democratic places in the Persian Gulf Arab countries.
I mean, there are striking similarities, aren't there, with Kuwait and Bahrain in terms of how protesters are dealt with. Both countries have been off the media radar, though, compared to other Arab nations which endured those uprisings. Why is that, do you think?
It's obvious that the United States and NATO countries desire to keep their thousands of troops in Kuwait. And in fact, one has to say that the Sabah family are probably better than they could even be. I mean, they could be even worse than they are. And as we've seen, of course, there have been demonstrations in Bahrain and, of course, Saudi Arabia, which are not being covered on any corporate media. It's very difficult to cover the brutal suppression of human rights in these NATO and US-backed dictatorships. There is no way that countries like the one I'm speaking to you from, let alone Washington or the United States, will countenance democracy in these countries. And let's hope that those demonstrators and people striving for democracy in Kuwait and in Bahrain will somehow have the strength to keep on supporting democracy.
Well, let's have a final thought, Afshin, about those people you're talking about in Kuwait. Where's the situation going to go, do you think, anytime soon?
In Kuwait, I think, hopefully, as we know from, I don't know, ever since the French Revolution, when governments start to liberalize, they start to fall. So perhaps more hope in Kuwait than in other countries in the Persian Gulf Cooperation Council. The government have, however, in the past 24 hours or so, again decreed that their curbs on democratic processes in Kuwait will remain, and that will help all pro-royal family, pro-government, pro-Al Sabah family candidates in any type of democratic elections, which Kuwait, in fairness, does have, compared to the brutal suppression and murder and killing that goes on in Bahrain tonight.
Afshin Rattansi, journalist and author, live online from London. Thank you.